Hey, what's happening? Welcome to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joinnetradio.com. We're here every day, Monday through Friday. I'm looking at a picture of Angela Rye in a two-piece bikini from Cabo San Luca. Oh my God. I'm just saying. Okay. Hey, I'm a growing boy. Okay. Man, I mean, Angela, girl, How y'all doing today? I hope y'all had a great weekend. Mine was pretty interesting as well. By the way, we are up on Black Focus Radio for let's see here, new video chat. Okay, so what I'm doing here, I'm learning Instagram, okay? So we do have Black Focus Radio on Instagram now. We've had it for a while. I got to give a shout out to my boy Cliff May, for setting this up for us. And over the weekend, I just decided to go ahead and start playing with it. So I've got to learn Instagram now. Hey, Jackie, how you doing? Welcome to the show. So I'm kind of playing around on it as well. You can also hit me up on Twitter at Black Focus Radio, and the same at Black Focus Radio on let's see. All right, I'm not gonna play with this during the break, but I will. Okay. But I will get this up and running here real soon, for sure. So you all stay connected with that as we move forward. I'm just going through and looking at, so I can just hit that little follow button right there and hit that button right there. Even old Roselle got an Instagram account. Ain't that something? So yeah, y'all can hit me up on Instagram now. Okay, there's Cliff. Hey, Cliff. So there are a whole lot of, so I'll get into all of that here later on we'll get that up and running so you all can follow me on on the gram. Anyway, welcome to the show. Robert Webb is going to be out today. He's in Missouri, the show me state. So we'll get to him here in a little bit. He's supposed to call in, but if he doesn't, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today for sure. So you all stick and stay. Don't go away from that. Let's see what else. So I want to remind you that we do have a podcast now. So please, whatever you do, go out and check out the podcast. So if you missed the show, you say, well, I need to find out what Dave Coleman was talking about today, and you missed the show, now you can go out and check out the podcast, okay? And you can download that. We're on just about every platform. I just got a new iPad, so I went out to Apple Podcast, boom, typed in Black Focus Radio, boom, right there, okay? So any podcast platform that you're on, you can go out and download the podcast. So I would really appreciate that. Also, be sure to download the Joynet Radio app. Do that as well. That way you can carry Joynet wherever you go. Even if you are somewhere in other parts of the country, you can still catch Joynet and you can still catch the app as well. Okay? So be sure to do that because we're trying to get our listeners up on the show. We've had a lot of people listening to the show from all parts of the country, and we want to continue that process. So we need help from you guys to spread the word, tell your friends, tell your classmates. And you know, that old crazy Dave Coleman's on the air, you know. So make sure you get that taken care of. Help a black man out if you don't mind, okay? Would really appreciate it. A lot of stuff to talk about today. Of course, we've got Black Facts coming up as well. And I was just going through, man, there are so many things that that we're going to talk about today that we've just got to talk about, and some things that we left off from last week. But we are going to talk about them today. That's for sure. Okay? So make sure you stick and stay for that. Just let me read the tease to you. White supremacy is just oozing out of the sewers of America. I mean, everywhere you go now, white supremacy is everywhere. Okay? It reminds me of the video I saw over the weekend of the white woman harassing black men in the subway. Okay? She looked like she was a little drunk, but I'd have had to backhand her. No, I wouldn't have, because I'd have ended up going to jail. She didn't, based on the video. Other things we're going to talk about, Nimrata is a damn fool, and another example of why I refuse to carry water for other movements. If you all don't know who Nimrata is, and that's who I'm going to refer to, that's her real name, I'm going to refer to her for that from this point forward, okay? Nimrata. We'll tell you who she is later on. By the way, where the hell was she educated? Okay? And we're going to show that she was a big-ass hypocrite, too. 2015 was a banner year for black deaths, and so was Jim Crow. Now, the reason I added the Jim Crow part is because the act of those black deaths, or the causes of those black deaths, was a Jim Crow policy. We'll talk about that. And by the way, did you know Arkansas Republicans cast votes against the Voting Rights Act? All of them. We'll talk about that today as well. So we've got a ton of stuff to talk about. You can call me up, by the way, at 855-525-5683 if you want to talk to me. I will tell you also that we are efforting to try and get a debate on with all four of the candidates for District 34. We're hoping to get you some details on that soon, so we'll let you know as we move forward on that particular issue. But we're going to try to have a debate for every, with all four of the candidates coming up as soon as we can before the election. I think the election is January 14th, the special election. So we want to have that debate before then. Okay? So I'll keep you posted on that. Although you've heard 3 of the 4 candidates right here on Black Focus Radio. And we were proud that they all came on. The other candidate, he hadn't returned our calls yet. So he doesn't think we're important. But as we've said over and over again, we are the biggest and the most broadcast black show in the state of Arkansas. And if you're going to run for any offices in this city, in this state for that matter, you might want to think about getting on Black Focus Radio. So he might be, I don't know him one way or the other. I'm not going to even call his name until he calls us back. But he might be one of those guys who thinks that he doesn't need our vote. And if that's the case, why are you running for office? I'm just asking for a friend. Is that okay with y'all? With y'all? Okay. All right. So I'm trying to decide what do I want to do for Black Facts. I've got like 4 different things, and there are so many that deals with race. Let me scroll back down. I got some great quotes, by the way, by John Henry Clark on my wall too. You might want to go out and check those out. Let's see, we could do, let's see, did we do that? I think, yeah. Let's do the LA Times article for Black Facts. So let's go ahead and get that out of the way. All right, so this is, last week we we commemorated the death of Fred Hampton and the leader of the Black Panthers in Chicago. And there's been a lot of stuff that has been out this week on Facebook as it relates to the Black Panthers. I hope you all will go out and read for yourself about the Black Panthers. Don't read this mess that's put out by white media and the FBI during that time, because what happened to the Black Panthers is an abomination. It's not a tragedy. The tragedy is that black people didn't support the Black Panthers the way the Black Panthers supported black people. That's the tragedy. But what was done to the Black Panthers is an abomination. It's a black eye, no pun intended, for this country. Because when you think about the Black Panthers and how the FBI treated them, and then you juxtapose the KKK and how the FBI treated them, there's no comparison. Now you say, Dave, wait a minute. Didn't the FBI help to break the KKK in the South? If they broke the KKK, why do we still have them marching around in sheets today? You don't see many Black Panthers. All of those Black Panthers are in jail. But the KKK is walking around proud today. There's an irony to that. So let me read this story by the LA Times, because the point of this story is to let you know that then and now there has been an attack on the black community, and it continues to go on. This is an opinion piece written by and not by Matthew Fleischer, a white guy, for the LA Times. And it's entitled, 50 Years Ago, LAPD Raided the Black Panthers. SWAT teams have been targeting black communities ever since. In the early morning hours of December 8th, 1969, Bernard Arafat, awoke to explosions rocking the library of the Black Panthers' 41st and Central Avenue headquarters in Los Angeles. Above him, footsteps stomped across the roof. Then gunfire erupted. Arafat wasn't a seasoned Panther. He was a 17-year-old runaway from juvenile hall whose parents had both died when he was 13. After years of committing small-time crimes, Arafat was taken in by the Panthers and gained a sense of purpose. He helped the organization's breakfast program, feeding hungry kids on the way to school. Arafat had never fired a gun, but as he listened to the sounds of bullets and heard the screams of fellow Panthers, he made a decision. I found an automatic shotgun and defended myself. Arafat didn't know it then, but he was part of an experiment in policing. On that morning, 50 years ago, the Panthers became the targets of the world's first major raid by a special weapons and tactics, or SWAT team. More than 350 officers took on 13 Panthers, ostensibly to execute warrants. The group they battled included 3 women and 5 teenagers. Before the day was over, police would detonate explosives on the Panthers' roof and call in a tank for reinforcements. 6 Panthers were wounded, as were 4 SWAT officers, before the men and women in the house surrendered. Combined, the two sides exchanged more than 5,000 rounds of ammunition. Miraculously, no one was killed. For one of the most dramatic moments in American policing, the raid on the Panthers' headquarters is a relatively small historical footnote. But in the years since, SWAT has become a mainstay of modern policing. Between 2000 and 2008, more than 9,000 of the nation's roughly 15,000 law enforcement agencies employed a SWAT unit. Thanks to the Pentagon's controversial 1033 program, even small-town police departments across the country have stocked up on military-grade hardware, including armored vehicles built to withstand roadside bombs and rocket-propelled grenades. SWAT deployments increased by more than 1,500% nationwide between 1980, and 2000. The LAPD's official history says the department created the nation's first SWAT team out of concern that officers couldn't handle sniper and hostage incidents, such as those encountered during the Watts riot in 1965. Darrell F. Gates, then a young inspector in the department, green-lighted the concept, which he called Special Weapons Assault Team, until leveler heads at LAPD thought better of the optics. Former SWAT Sergeant Patrick McKinley cut his teeth in the LAPD during the Watts riot. His most vivid memory from the unrest was seeing an old woman in pajamas calling to her cat in the front yard of her bullet-ridden home, shortly after the National Guard had shot up the property in an attempt to stop a shooter holed up in her neighbor's place. McKinley was on the SWAT team from the start, but early on, it didn't figure heavily among his duties. Extreme tactical situations, such as hostage taking or sniper fire, it turned out, were fairly rare. Using the SWAT team to serve the Panther arrest warrants was not only the first deployment, it was a deviation from the unit's original mission. Yes, the Panthers were armed and certainly might be dangerous if provoked, but they hadn't stopped the LAPD from detaining and arresting any number of them over the preceding several months. There were no hostages at 41st and Central Avenue, and the Panthers weren't barricaded in. The wanted members had to leave the building at some point where the waiting officers could arrest him. Across the country at the time, police antipathy towards the Panthers was rising, in part fueled by dirty tricks by FBI's COINTELPRO unit. As McKinley, who participated in the raid, said, "We had to take them out." The Panther raid also had to be looked at in the context of the department's racial history. Until just a few years before the raid, the LAPD had been headed by William Parker, who once complained during a television news interview that an influx of African Americans moving to LA to escape Jim Crow South had flooded a community that wasn't prepared to meet them. "We didn't ask these people to come here." For most of his tenure, he refused to hire black officers to police their own communities and instead sought white recruits from across the country. In its Panther deployment, SWAT was transformed from a tool of surgical precision into a blunt force battering ram. And that's ultimately how it would find its calling in police departments across the country, especially in African American communities. Last year, Princeton Assistant Principal of Politics and Public Affairs, Jonathan Momolo, published a data-driven analysis of militarized policing in the United States. He found that less than 5% of SWAT raids involved the kind of high-risk scenarios they were intended for, such as terrorist attacks, hostage situations, or active shooters. These are really rare events in the day-to-day scenario of police departments, said Momolo. So these teams have been adapted to handle more mundane situations. In Maryland, where Momolo conducted most of his research, more than 90% of SWAT deployments were in service of a search warrant, and black communities were overwhelmingly on the receiving end of these non-emergency militarized raids. Momolo further found that these types of raids neither reduced crime nor made police officers safer, but they did erode public trust in the police. Peter Kraska, a professor of police studies at Eastern Kentucky University, has studied the militarization of American policing for almost 2 decades. He says LAPD's SWAT team unequivocally served as the model for the rest of the country, which hasn't been positive. SWAT uses Navy SEAL techniques to go on fishing expeditions, says Kraska. They bust down doors, throw flash grenades, handcuff everyone inside, ransack the place and leave. And these techniques are predominantly used on communities made up of racial minorities. Remember Roderick Talley here in Little Rock? The SWAT Panther raid in Los Angeles was just an expedition. It resulted in 13 arrests and a total of 72 criminal counts being filed. But at trial, the Panthers' attorney, including a young Johnny Cochran, argued that the group had acted in self-defense. SWAT had entered the building unannounced, with guns blazing. A mixed-race jury agreed, finding the Panther defendants not guilty on all charges, including the most serious ones of assault with a deadly weapon and conspiracy to murder policemen. Arafat, who had skipped bail and fled underground to Puerto Rico, returned to Los Angeles. For SWAT, the whole incident was, in many ways, a spectacular fiasco. The raid failed to produce the kind of convictions prosecutors had envisioned. It was also a failure of the mission. A unit created for the explicit purpose of preventing uncontrollable armed conflict instead of initiated a full-on battle in a crowded urban setting. played out before the entire nation. But that lesson didn't take hold across the country. Instead, in the years since, law enforcement has increased its reliance on militarized policing, especially in communities of color, sabotaging community relations and making no one safer. 50 years after waking up a target in SWAT's crosshairs, Arafat believes this was all by design. SWAT evolved as a way to control people, places, and things. It started with us. Now it's everywhere. And that's our black fact for today. And don't forget, if you would like to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, do me a favor and give me a call at 615-554-0568, and I'll hook you up with some great advertising, okay? And it's not expensive at all. You can save a lot more money than you think you can by advertising here on Joynet Radio, and you can reach quite a few people, okay? So let's do that. Again, that number is 615-554-0568. And I hope to hear from you soon. All right? We're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about Nimrata. But I also want to talk a little bit about the murders that took place at Pensacola, Florida this week, over the weekend, by a Saudi national. Now, certainly this concerned me because there were two shootings late last week. One was in Hawaii on the Navy base at Pearl Harbor. The other was in Pensacola on the Navy base. And the reason that's important to me is because my son served at both locations. He did his AIT and basic training at Great Lakes, and then went to AIT in Pensacola. He then went to Hawaii, which is where he is today. And I wondered when I heard, obviously reached out to him after I heard about the shooting, and he's okay, thank goodness. And then, of course, afterward, the thing in Pensacola popped off, and it became apparent that it was a Saudi national who did that. I'm going to remind you of something that happened in America. Two things. The Saudis aren't our friends. We'll talk about that when we get back. It's called Black Focus Radio. If this is your first time listening, I appreciate it. Do me a favor and like what we're doing. I would like to remind you also that we are on YouTube as well. You can check out the live feed on YouTube. But we are also on Facebook. We're not streaming Twitter today, but we might just get that up and running here in the break. So catch us on Instagram, catch us on Twitter. The fact of the matter is, download the app from Joynet and the podcast. The fact of the matter is, there is no reason on God's green earth why you can't listen to Black Focus Radio now. We're everywhere. And we want to be on your phone, in your car, in your home. Because it really is about our issues, our solutions, and our voices. It's called Black Focus Radio. We'll be back in a moment on joynetradio.com. You're so welcome, Jackie. I think we'll get the Twitter feed up. All right, welcome back to the show. The Twitter feed is up at blackfocusradio.com. That's how you get in touch with us. If you want to talk to me about anything that's going on in the community, of course, you know, I've got tons and tons of stuff to talk about. Before the break, I was talking a little bit about the shooting that took place at the naval base in both Hawaii and Pensacola, Florida. Now, I've been to both locations. By the way, I love Pensacola. If you want to go to a great museum, as I've told you all multiple times, that I am a museum fanatic. Usually when I go to a new city, the first thing I go to is the museum. Where's the museum? I want to go to the museum. And the Naval Air Station has a fantastic museum about Navy aeronautics and ships that is in Pensacola. And, you know, the great thing about it, it's free. Okay? So if you ever go to Pensacola, go check out the museum there. So I was talking about the shooting. Apparently, a Saudi national who was here training in America was responsible for the shooting at the Naval Air Station in Pensacola. Now, 3 people were killed and 8 others were wounded in this shooting. Okay? Now, the person who did it was Second Lieutenant Mohammed Saeed al-Shishrani. Okay? He acted alone when he opened fire inside a classroom at the base early Friday morning. Okay? Now, according to what we know, he used a Glock pistol and he bought it. Now, check this out. The FBI confirmed that al-Shamrani had legally purchased the weapon somewhere in Florida. It was a Glock 9mm he used in the shooting. The governor of Florida, DeSantis, said he was able to buy the firearm because of a federal loophole in gun laws that allow non-immigrant foreign nationals to purchase weapons for an array of reasons, including if they simply have a hunting license. Yeah, y'all already know we got a gun problem, right? Y'all already know that. We don't need to expound on that. But here's why I'm bringing this up. Certainly, some soldiers lost their lives, and certainly our prayers go out to their families. But I'm not going to send thoughts and prayers because that's what the Republicans do. But because see, I'm a Navy family now. I'm a Navy family member now because my son is in the Navy. So anytime something happens to the Navy specifically, I sit up a little bit because I'm related to those men and women who are fighting because my son is out there. But here's what bothers me about this situation. Let me take you back to 9/11. 19 of the hijackers were Saudi Arabians. But we went to war and destroyed Iraq. Not one Iraqi was in that group. In fact, there is evidence to support that they were funded by high-priced Saudi princes. But we didn't go to Saudi Arabia and take out Saudi Arabia. We went and destroyed Iraq. You know, that's kind of like someone walking up and punching you in the nose and breaking your nose. And instead of you retaliating to the perpetrator, you go out and you slap your girlfriend. Or no, you go out and slap your best friend. That's a better analogy. Because at the time, Iraq was friends to the United States. If you don't understand geopolitical politics, you have to understand that Iraq was our proxy warmonger. You see, we used Iraq to fight against Iran. Y'all do know that, right? We used Saddam Hussein and Iraq to fight and wage a proxy war against Iran. You don't have to believe me. Go do your history. So why would we go and invade a country that had nothing to do with 9/11 and continue to sell weapons, planes, arms, anything you can name, we sell to the Saudis? Remember Jamal Khashoggi, who was killed last year? Now evidence has come out that it was ordered by the Saudi prince. Y'all remember that? The American journalist. So now, as of this weekend, we've had another Saudi attack. Number one, why are we training those people? I'm just wondering. It's pretty clear that they don't care about us. They said that this guy was in the United States. He went back home to Saudi Arabia and became radicalized, as the term that they use. So if he got radicalized in Saudi Arabia, that means that the radicalization is going on inside of Saudi Arabia. So why is the United States government doing business with the Saudis? And by the way, PLOTUS, the pathological liar of the United States, bent himself into a pretzel over the weekend trying to talk about, well, it was just a rogue person. It wasn't the Saudis as a whole. I'll be damned. It was the Saudis. Just like it was the Saudis in 9/11. Just like it was the Saudis who killed Jamal Khashoggi. We as the American people cannot allow this to go on where we have political leaders who are willing to kowtow to foreign dignitaries and foreign governments to undermine the United States of America. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. That's what the Bushes did when they went after the Iraqis, as opposed to going after the Saudis. This is an abomination. This is disgusting. Are y'all paying attention? Does anyone care? And if you don't, why not? My question to you is this: why is the United States supporting a country that is waging a silent war against the United States? Why are they doing that? I don't know this to be true. But if you could trace the money that some of these terrorists are using to commit their acts, what are the odds that some of that money would be traced right back to Saudi Arabia? I don't know that to be true. But here's what I do know: that someone trained those 19 Saudis during 9/11. Someone financed them. Someone financed the attack on Jamal Khashoggi. And someone radicalized and financed this murderer over the weekend, this terrorist. And nobody in the Trump administration wanted to refer to it as a terrorist act. Has there been some terse conversations with the Saudis? There's a pattern here. And while we're not paying attention to it, they are plotting again to try and destroy America. Now, let me be honest with you. Some people want to call it a religious war. It could be to some extent. And by the way, if you haven't watched Sleeper Cell, great series. Or, by the way, I'm watching 24 Legacy again. Who's funding these people? I'm curious. Where's this money coming from? And why do we, America, is it because of the oil? I thought I saw something a while back that America exports more oil than any other country in the world. Is it the oil? What is it? Is it because people like the Bushes, the Cheneys, all makes money off of the misery? I don't know. Is it that the Middle Eastern people hate America so badly? Or could it be that our bombs that are dropping on those homes in Iraq and Syria and other parts of that area, that's helping to radicalize these people? Because think about it from this perspective. Think about this. If someone comes in your home today, he shoots and kills everybody in your house, and he runs out, and you're the only one left. You're a 12-year-old, and you have just suddenly been orphaned by a homegrown terrorist. Are you going to want revenge? Are you going to grow up thinking that if you ever get an opportunity to get revenge on the person that killed your family, that you would do so? I know I would. Don't give me that stuff about letting it go, Brant John. I know I'd want some blood. I'd want eye for an eye. I'm sorry, Christian folks. I'm not Christian. I'm human. I can only be me. So what's my point in bringing that up? Is that what you all don't understand is that America is dropping bombs on men, women, and children. And so is Israel, for that matter. They're maiming people. They're killing people. They're leaving them homeless. They're leaving them with no food, no hope. The only people that give them hope are terrorists. That, hey, come join our sect. Come join our group, and we can strike a blow against the imperialism of America. That's what's happening. That's what's happening. And what the media will tell you is that, oh, they just hate Americans. I'm reminded of the bomb that crashed, and this was under the Obama administration. I'm reminded of the bomb that crashed, the smart bomb that crashed into the school bus with children on it. Those who lived will be scarred for life. The relatives of those who died will want revenge. So what I'm saying to you is that maybe our policies as a nation is causing some of this hatred. It's back to the analogy of being punched in the nose by somebody. That particular person, he punches you in the nose and then he goes about the rest of his life saying, hey, I didn't do anything to you. Not understanding that you broke my nose. We got to wake up. We got to start asking our leaders questions about their policies, because their policies directly affect what's going on here in the United States. And we got to also make sure that terrorism, regardless of who the perpetrator may be, whether he be white male or black male, gets what they deserve. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. Now let me talk about Nimrata. From this point on, I will call her Nimrata. Okay? At this point on, I will call her Nimrata. Now, if you don't know who Nimrata is, I'm going to explain it to you. Here's a post. The Independent just published an article that just popped up. Donald Trump has been criticized for parroting the Saudi Arabia's defense after a Saudi gunman killed 3 sailors at a Florida Navy base. This just popped up. Okay? The attack has brought attention to the U.S. decision to train Saudi military officers after anti-U.S. tweets from an account appearing to match al-Shamrani's identity were found. However, Mr. Trump has appeared to be unusually disinterested in uncovering the circumstances around the attack and swiftly defended Saudi Arabia. The president told reporters that the officials in Saudi Arabia are devastated by the incident and the king will be involved in taking care of the families and loved ones. So are you saying that, oh, well, he gonna give y'all some money, so it was okay that y'all got, you 3 of y'all got killed and 8 of you got maimed? Man, this guy's a piece of crap. His response has been questioned by foreign policy experts who have accused Trump I'm not going to even call him Mr. anymore, who have accused Trump of covering for the Saudi regime. The attack is a disaster for an already deeply strained relationship, said Bruce Rydell. Rydell criticized the president's parroting of the Saudi line before the results of an investigation into the attack and the suspect's motives have been released. Max Boot, a Washington Post columnist, accused Mr. Trump of acting as a spokesman for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Imagine how you would have reacted to this terrorist attack if the shooter had been a Mexican immigrant or a Muslim immigrant from any other country in the world except Saudi Arabia, said Boot. His criticism was echoed by Aaron Miller, a Middle East negotiator and senior fellow at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, who said Trump had created a virtually impenetrable zone of immunity for Saudi Arabia. Miller said the president was driven to defend the country by oil, money, weapon sales, and a good deal of Saudi feting and flattery. Saudi Arabia is considered to be a crucial U.S. ally due to its oil supply and its ability to counter Iran in the Middle East. The Pensacola attack follows the killing of Jamal Khashoggi, a prominent journalist and a critic of the Saudi royal family. There you go. So I'm not the only one who's being critical of this joke named Trump. Speaking of being critical, have you all heard about Nimrata Haley? Y'all know Nimrata, don't you? Y'all don't know Nimrata Haley? Well, Nimrata Haley is Nikki Haley. She was formerly the governor of South Carolina. She was the governor who was in power when Dylann Roof committed his terrorist act. Here's what she said that came out late last week. This article is from Pathos, but there are tons and tons of other articles out there that you can find. Nimrata Haley said this. She claimed that the Confederate flag was a symbol of service, sacrifice, and heritage. Did you hear what I just said? Let me read her entire quote for you. South Carolina fell to her knees when this happened. She's talking about the murder that took place, the terrorist act that took place by Dylann Roof. This is one of the oldest African American churches. These 12 people were amazing people. They loved their church, they loved their family, they loved their community. And here is this guy that comes out with this manifesto, holding the Confederate flag, and had just hijacked everything that people thought of. We don't have hateful people in South Carolina. There's always a small minority that's always going to be there. But you know, people saw it, the Confederate flag, as service, sacrifice, and heritage. But once he did that, there was no way to overcome it. And the national media came in droves. They wanted to define what happened. They wanted to make this about racism. It was about racism, Nimrata Haley. They wanted to make it about gun control. They wanted to make it about death penalty. I really pushed off the national media and said there will be a time and place where we can talk about this, but it is not now. We will get through the funerals. We're going to respect them. And then we will have that conversation. And we had really a tough few weeks of debate. But we didn't have riots and we had vigils. We didn't have protests, we had hugs. And the people of South Carolina stepped up and showed the world what it looks like to grow, to show grace and strength in the eyes of tragedy. That was Nimrata Haley. Now, you're probably asking me, why am I calling Nikki Haley Nimrata Haley? Because that's the name her mama and her daddy gave her. Oh, you thought it was a slur. No, that's her real name. See, she doesn't go by Nimrata because she don't want people to know that she's an immigrant. She rarely talks about that her parents were immigrants. She rarely talks about that. Rarely. Rarely. So here is an Indian woman who is lying about the Confederate flag and what it stands for. It does not stand for truth. It does not stand for justice. It does not stand for service. It does not stand for sacrifice. It doesn't stand for hatred. It stands directly for one thing, and that's white supremacy. South Carolina didn't adopt that flag as their state flag until the 1950s, as did many other southern states. They didn't adopt that flag until civil rights was on the fast track in America. That flag stands for one thing, just as the South stood for one thing, and that was racism and bigotry and murder. And not just murder, but rape, selling children, castration, lynchings, any debauchery that you can think about that went on during the Southern occupation of black people, it happened. There's no service there. The only sacrifice was the lives of black people, Nimrata Haley. But as I tell you, there are black people out there probably saying, oh, well, you know, she didn't really mean that. She didn't really mean that. Yes, she did. Now, I need you all to remember this because Nimrata Haley is going to try to run for president eventually. She's going to try to run for some other offices eventually. Now, if it's a national office, she ought to be slapped. She ought to be slapped in South Carolina. But unfortunately, South Carolina is still a steaming pot of cauldron of bigotry and racism. Just like Alabama, Florida, Mississippi, Arkansas, Tennessee, Texas, and all the other states across this country. Let me tell you what Michael Steele said about her. Michael Steele was the black former Republican chairman and a lieutenant governor of Maryland. He's also a political analyst on MSNBC. Michael Steele said, really, Nikki? The Confederate flag represented service, sacrifice, and heritage? Question mark. To whom? The black people who were terrorized and lynched in its name? You said it should never have been there. Ruth didn't hijack the meaning of the flag. He inherited it. Hello? Hello? Let me just remind you. Our new government is founded exactly upon the opposite idea. Its foundations are laid. its cornerstone rests upon the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, that slavery's subordination to the superior race is his natural and normal condition. That was written by Alexander H. Stevens. He is the vice president of the Confederate States of America, March 21st, 1861. See, history will make a fool out of all of you if you don't know your history. So the next time you hear some enterprising young white person saying, oh, the flag was about heritage, don't argue with them. Just call them a damn lie and walk off. Because they're not worth arguing with. Because you know right off the bat that a person that would fix his mind to utter that dribble is nothing more than a closet racist. Hear it from me, a Southern white woman, born and raised in the shadow of a dozen Civil War battles. When I tell you this flag is offensive to me, it's offensive. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue this dialogue. We've got other things to talk about. But we want to make sure that we highlight Nimrata, because Nimrata is full of crap, and she does not deserve to be elected dog catcher. It's Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices on joynetradio.com.
Butler Furniture Depot is your back-to-school headquarters. All college students, fraternities, and sororities get a two-piece living room set for only $3.99, or take advantage of our four-piece living room special, which includes sofa, love seat, chair, and ottoman for only $5.99. Quantities are limited.
Who done it? The butler done it. Butler Furniture Depot.
Or what about an extra thick queen-size mattress, full or queen size, for only $2.98, or an Ashley Signature four-piece bedroom set for $4.99, or a five-piece dinette set for only $1.99. Huge selections and savings are going on at Butler Furniture Depot, your back-to-school headquarters.
Call 562-8333 for directions. Who done it? The butler done it.
En Butler Furniture Depot hablamos español.
Who done it? The butler done it. Butler Furniture Depot.
Hi, this is Alvin from Habibi's 4317 East Broadway in North Little Rock. We still have the green top at your very next stop. The same great service, but more of it. Give us a call, 501-663-1553 or 664-2992, or call our toll-free number, 1-877-HABIBI-1. Diapers, pull-ups, hospital beds, wheelchairs, Simply Fit, diabetic supplies, underpads, and more. Your durable medical supply center.
Hi, I'm attorney Deodor Thompson from the Thompson Law Firm, and I want to help with your legal matter. Whether it's criminal defense, bankruptcy, personal injury, or family law, I want to help you. I can be reached at 501-503-5095. Don't face your legal issues alone. You need an attorney whose primary objective is to provide you with the best legal representation. Our office address is 415 North McKinley, Suite 710 in Little Rock. I'm attorney Deodor Thompson, and I want to provide you with the best legal representation.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here is my personal invite for you to join us for Christmas Unplugged.
I'm so glad that it's Christmas time. We celebrate Jesus.
December 13th, 7 p.m. at the Thornton Broadcasting Studio, 1501 South Main, Little Rock.
This is going to be an acoustic a cappella set where people are going to come together and we're just going to enjoy.
Samaj Brown, Amanda Catrice, and my main man, Tori DeLay.
Silent night, holy night.
sure to join us.
December the 13th, 7 p.m. Thornton Broadcasting Studios, 1501 Main. Brought to you by the JC Love Morning Show.
Get your advance tickets right now. Go to the website, joininradio.com.
You got it. He's Little Rock's answer to your aggravation. Joy Network.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman and Robert Webb.
All right, welcome back to the second hour of the show, Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me. We got a lot of other stuff we're going to talk about this hour, but I want to finish up about Nimrata Haley. And as I've read through some of these posts that Michael Steele has had a comeuppance, so to speak, because Michael Steele, he supported the Republican Party. He was the RNC chairman for a while. But if you've watched him now, he is outdone. That's an old folks term right there. When an old person say, I'm just outdone, that means they done with you. I don't want nothing to do with you no more. What you've done is incredulous. And what Nimrata Haley said last week is pathetic. Service, sacrifice, and heritage for the Confederate flag. That's a bunch of crap. And if I wasn't on this radio, I wouldn't be talking nice. I tell you what it is. It's a service to white supremacy. It's a sacrifice to white supremacy. And it's the heritage of white supremacy. That's what it is, Nimrata Haley. That's what it is. That means that those, and let us not forget that those people they committed treason against the United States. Let us not forget that those people raped little boys, killed little boys, raped little girls, killed little girls, raped grown women, sold their children under that flag. How the hell do you tell me that that's service, sacrifice, and heritage? Yeah, it's heritage, all right. Nimrata Haley should never be elected to anything else in this country. And if you are a black person, why the hell would you give her your vote? But see, this is par for the course. See, you won't think when I tell you that I'm not carrying water for Hispanics. I'm not carrying water for LBGBT or whatever they call themselves. I'm not carrying water for anybody else but black people. Because, see, Nikki Haley's family are immigrants. And I find it curious that every time you see immigrants, they are crapping on black people in America. The very laws that they live by was born on the backs of black misery. It was black people that were marching in the streets in the 50s and the 60s. It was black people who had dogs turned on them and water hoses turned on them. It was black people who were being killed and murdered by the KKK. Later on in this show, I'm going to give you an article. Did you know that in 2015, there were more blacks killed by police than there were during Jim Crow? And all around the world. This is why I implore you all to do your history. Study your history, because you will see all around the world, if you have melanin, this stuff that I have, this black pretty skin that everybody is envious of, they have sought to destroy black people. They have sought to marginalize black people. All around the world. And it's no different in Nimrata's home country of India, where they marginalize the dark-skinned Indians. They discriminate against the dark-skinned Indians. You know what made me so happy this weekend is that Miss Universe is a black sister from South Africa. And did you know that Miss USA, Miss Teen USA, Miss Universe, and there's one other, are all black women for 2019. So what represents beauty in the world are black women. In fact, what represents beauty, period, has always been a black woman. Ain't nothing like a sister. Sorry. Don't get mad at me if you done stepped out your race. That's on you. But ain't nothing like a sister. They come in all colors. They come in all shapes. They come in all sizes. They run the gamut of the rainbow of blackness. Beautiful lips, hips. Everybody is envious of the black sister. So what I'm saying to you is that part of the reason idiot Nimrata Haley can say stupid stuff like this is because you as black people don't even know your own damn history. In fact, some of you all discriminate against people because they're darker than you. You are eaten up with white supremacy because anytime you criticize another black person because their hue is darker than yours, you are infected with white supremacy. Anytime you make fun of a dark-skinned sister or brother, you know what you are? You are nothing more than touting white supremacy. There's a truth that the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. You see, the world over the decades, over the centuries, realized that when they showed up in Africa and they saw all of those pyramids, they saw all that medicine, they saw mathematics, the white world realized that they were behind times. So what did they seek to do? That was to destroy the black experience. But thank goodness our ancestors had the sense to document who they were, not on papyrus, but in stone. So when you go through the pyramids of Egypt, when you go through the pyramids of Sudan, and when you go through the pyramids of Mali, when you go through the pyramids of Ethiopia, and you see those renditions of people, you quickly begin to realize that those people who built those magnificent structures were our ancestors. Not the white ones, the black ones. See, that's what white supremacy does, is white supremacy steals history and tries to change it for its own benefit. That's why they hate the black man so badly. You see, if you read Dr. Francis Cress Welsing's book, The ISIS Papers, you understand that the black man is probably, in fact, is the most powerful human being on this earth. This is why he's hunted. This is why he's marginalized. This is why it's okay for police to shoot him down in the street, because they understand that what the black man possesses is power. Now, you probably wonder, Dave, what are you talking about? Let me be real with you, brothers and sisters. You see, the black man has something the white man does not have. And that's the power to repopulate this earth with his people. You see, this is why white people elected Donald Trump, because they know in 2042, we've talked about this genetics thing before on this show. We've talked about it. We've talked about dominant and recessive genes on this show before. The black gene is a dominant gene. The white gene is a recessive gene. That's not me saying it. That's science. That's science. You see, if every black man was killed in the world except one. And it's funny, I was watching I Am Legend the other day, the one with Will Smith, where the plague had taken over and killed off all of New York. And as I sat there watching that, I thought about Dr. Francis Cress Welsing. Because Will Smith, that one black man, can repopulate this entire earth with black people. Hello? Dr. Francis Cress Welsing calls it white genetic annihilation. That's what they are afraid of. Don't believe me, go do the research, my brothers and sisters. This is how Donald Trump came into being. Because see, in 2042, for the first time in the history of America, in modern America, because we know prior to white people coming to the New World, that there were black people already over here. Hello? Oh, don't believe me, go do your research. You see, because initially whites wanted to try to enslave the Native Americans, but they couldn't enslave them because the Native Americans fought back. Oh, go do your research, my brothers and sisters. This is about white supremacy. This is about them losing their way. And everything that this country has done to this point has proved it out. Why the hell would you elect a Donald Trump who doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground? Because Barack Obama had been president, a black man. Y'all remember prior to Obama becoming president, how many white folks did you hear say, I'll kill myself before I see a black president? I know a couple of them. I even confronted them. I said, yo, dude, when your funeral? What you talking about? Oh, don't you remember when you said that if Barack Obama became president, that you would kill yourself? You still here, bro. In fact, someone like you probably don't need to be here. Woo. Of course, he got mad and walked off. I didn't mean to spend this much time on this issue, but Nimrata Haley, who is Indian by birth, who is an immigrant, who lives on the backs of black people because it was black people who gave her the rights, who fought for her rights to be able to run for governor of South Carolina. And then you're going to go and pass this crap off? Man. And the reason they can do this is because, you know why? It's because y'all don't know your history. If you follow my post, oftentimes I post black people, black as the night. Did you know that the #1 model in the world is black as the night, and she makes more money than any other model per hour? Because black is beautiful, baby. It always has been. It always will be. And I found it ironic. See, I didn't watch the Miss Universe pageant, but the 3 finalists, now check this out. If I remember correctly, the 3 finalists was three women. One was from Mexico. The other one was from Puerto Rico. And then the other was from South Africa. The Puerto Rican lady and the Mexican lady looked white. Because you see, in Mexico, you understand that they marginalize the people that have dark skin there. In fact, it was up until 2 years ago that the Mexican government didn't even count black Mexicans. Hello? So their image of beauty is the white woman. And you saw that in the Miss Universe pageant. That's their image of beauty. In fact, it's so infected in Brazil that you have black people who will not marry black people so they can bleach out the blackness. In Argentina, there are so few black people, you know that they literally killed off all the black people in Argentina. Y'all with me? I'm sorry, Nikki Haley just ticked me off. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because we have to start pushing back on this stupidity and this ignorance. Do your homework. Learn your history. So when stupidity comes out of the mouths of these white supremacists, you can push back on them. Because we know that they don't give a damn about facts. We know that. They've been lying to the world since their inception. And unfortunately for them, the internet happened. And now I don't have to go to school to do my research. I can pull it up on my tablet. I can put it up on my computer. I can pull it up on my phone, which all of them are computers. There is no reason why you should not know your history now. There is no reason why you should not know the origins of man. There is no reason why you should not know the origins of Christianity. You call yourself a Christian, yet you don't even know its origin. There's no reason why you should know the origin of Islam, because if you call yourself a Muslim, then you must know the origin of Islam. And you must understand that it all came from Africa. Africa gave monotheism to the world, the relationship to one God. That came out of the sub-Saharan region. Timbuktu, Mali. There's a reason why Ethiopia and Egypt are the main two countries mentioned in the Bible. And by the way, while you're doing your history, do some geology. Let's stop separating the Middle East from Africa. Because last I checked, there are only 7 continents. There are only 7 continents. Last I checked. And you know what? I'm going to check again just to make sure. I know, but I want to make sure that Google hadn't changed anything. I just want to make sure, because I'm going to make my point to you, okay? There's Asia, there's Africa, there's North America, there's South America, there's Antarctica, there's Europe, and there's Australia. Now, those are the 7 continents. Last I checked, that hadn't changed. Where the hell is the Middle East? Oh, the Middle East is in Africa. Y'all get this, right? Okay, I'm done with that. I don't care if y'all get mad. It's time for y'all to wake up. Part of the reason that we're suffering is because we are ignorant to our own history. Because if you teach your children that they came from kings and queens instead of slaves, then they would feel better about themselves. They wouldn't be walking around calling themselves nigger, my nigger. Because you'll understand that that is a Southern colloquialism that came out of the racist South. So why would you refer yourself to yourself as something that the white supremacists used? That's a sickness. That's a mental destruction in your mind. Hello? Let me move on before I get upset up in here. Nikki Haley. What a disgusting person. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. Did you know that more black Americans are killed today by police than in Jim Crow? Did y'all know that? On the average, 39 black people were lynched per year under Jim Crow. In 1892, the worst year, 161 black Americans were lynched. More than a century later, the numbers have hardly improved. In 2015, 258 black people were killed by the police, representing 26% of deaths. For 2016, the trend seems similar. As of July 7th, the U.S. police have shot and killed 509 people this year. 123 were black. But I know what y'all saying. Things have changed. Have they? Because see, when you begin to read your history, you begin to realize that things haven't changed much at all. Yeah, we don't have the whites only signs anymore. But ask that to the people who are being racially profiled. Former mayor of New York, Bloomberg. What do you think that was? The next time you walk in a store and you're being watched, tell me things have changed. The next time you try to go somewhere with your hair over your head and they decide that, hey, you can't wear that here. Tell me how things have changed. Did you know now states, in fact, I believe there's some federal legislation about to come down where you can't discriminate against people because of their hair. That's specifically black people. But y'all think you're free because you can drive your nice cars and you can go, oh, by the way, tell me about the Delta crew that was in Ohio, the 30 women who were forced to pay for their meals before they were served. Hello? But y'all think you're free. I'm just saying, brothers and sisters, if we're going to solve this problem, then we have to understand that there is a problem. You know what? I've been suffering from a sinus problem. I think I have a sinus infection. Okay? Before I had to understand that I had a sinus infection, I had to realize that, hey, I'm having problems bleeding. I mean, my nose is bleeding. I mean, I'm getting stopped up. It's not the flu. It's not pneumonia. What's going on? I had to realize that I had a problem with my sinuses. And then I went to the doctor to get it fixed. We have to understand that we have a problem as black people. We have a mental problem. We don't support one another. We don't spend money with one another. We're tougher on black people than we are on white people. Aren't you, Brent John? How the hell are you going to go and hug someone who just killed your brother? Hello? I'm sorry. Told y'all I'm not like y'all. I ain't trying to ask for no forgiveness, because that's what's been going on with black people too long. We've been turning the other cheek, and then they've been slapping us on that one too. We don't support one another. We don't spend money with black businesses. We spend $1.2 trillion annually every year, more than the gross national product of Canada, more than the 9th largest nation in the world, and less than 2% of that money goes to black people. But you're willing to send your child to prison. You're willing to send your son to prison. You're willing to ignore what's going on here in Little Rock at the school board because you want him to go to prison, when people have told you that by 4th grade, they've already identified how many black boys will end up in prison, and they're already building prisons waiting on him. Right now in the state of Tennessee, there is a mess going on with the juvenile court because young black juveniles are running rampant. And people are trying to figure out what the hell's going on in Nashville that so many young black males are going into juvenile court and they're coming out worse than they were. Well, look, if you have a private prison, let me try to encapsulate this for you. Because, see, Arkansas just decided to have a private prison. If I am in the private prison industry, and when I do my rites of passage camps for young males, I tell them, look, dude, you're a commodity. You're an apple. You're a side of beef. You're a pig. You're a cow. You're a bushel of apples. You're a bushel of corn. That's how they see you. They don't see you as a human being. They don't see you as a young black man struggling, trying to make ends for your family. They see you as a commodity. But y'all aren't talking to your kids about that. Y'all are just simply accepting this. In Tennessee, the juvenile court system is ran by a private prison. Now think about this for a moment. Think about this. If I run juvenile court and it's for money, and then I run the prisons and it's for money, you see, in the state of Tennessee, they spend about $23,000 per year per inmate. Now, let's put it in a farmer's vernacular. So let's say, for instance, I have a crop of corn out there. Okay? And I plant corn, and it grows up, I harvest it, and I go to market and I sell it. And I make money. Woo! But I don't plant no more corn. Am I going to make any money? Oh, no. Now, let me bring it home to you. Let's say I'm in the juvenile court business. And Lil Joaquin comes to my juvenile court system. I'm going to lock Joaquin up. And then not only am I going to lock him up, I'm going to put him in the same cell as the worst guys there. Because you know what's going to happen? Joaquin is going to have to fight to survive. So that means he's going to get more time. And the more time he gets, the more money I make. Now, Joaquin is 14 years old. He should be in school, not in juvenile court. But am I going to have any schools to educate Joaquin to make sure he gets his diploma? Oh, hell no. Why would I do that? Because, see, I know that if Joaquin doesn't get his diploma, Joaquin is not going to be able to become gainfully employed. And if he doesn't become gainfully employed, then he's going to have to do other things to make money, to survive. He's going to participate in criminal activity. He's going to sell drugs. He's going to rob banks. He's going to rob your neighbors. So when I catch Joaquin, now he's 18. I don't have to send him to juvenile court. I can have the judge to sentence him to 10 years in prison. You follow me? So on Joaquin alone, if I make $22,000 a year off of Joaquin being in my prison, and he's there for 10 years, just on Joaquin alone, I have made $220,000. Y'all follow me? I'm trying to make this as plain as possible. So if you know that, why aren't you doing everything you can to make sure Joaquin doesn't end up in prison? It is incumbent upon every one of us, every black person in this country, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim. This is why I tell people, instead, whenever you see a young black brother and he's tall, don't tell him he looks like a basketball player. Don't tell him he looks like a football player. Tell him he looks like a doctor. Tell him he looks like a lawyer. Tell him he looks like an entrepreneur. Tell him he looks like an astronaut. Because if we speak it into existence, then it will be. The problem is that we are so quick to denigrate our own that we don't see how it's destroying us. I have seen the enemy, and it is we. Hello. I'm just saying. And you know, I hope every day you listen to this show, I piss you off. Did you know, remember that statistic that I said about the money? We spend 2% of black income on black people. Let me tell you something. If we simply spent 10% with black people, did you know that would create 1 million jobs in the black community? Don't believe me, go do your research, brothers and sisters. If I'm running a prison, why wouldn't I? Oh, by the way, did you know that the private prison industry has lobbied your state legislatures, and they have demanded that that the state legislature guarantees a 95% occupancy rate for their prisons? Now think about that for a minute. I'm a business owner. Y'all know I sell Coleman's Dynamic Products. I sell a rub. What, can I go to the government? Can I go to Asa Hutchinson up there and say, hey, Asa, I need you to guarantee me a 95% sales rate. So in other words, I'm going to sell 95% of my product every month. Hell no, I can't do that. So why are private prisons able to do that? You know why? Because your politicians, particularly the white ones, are bought and sold. If you doubt that, this state has had, the Little Rock School District has held it hostage for 5 years. What has it done to improve it? Not one damn thing. In fact, when it took over the schools under false pretenses, there were so-called 6 schools failing. Now there's 9, and they have had control for 5 years. They don't want to educate your children. They want them to go to prison. They are a commodity. Hello? 855-525-5683 is the number. By the way, did you know that North Carolina gave a white supremacist group $2.5 million? That's why I said in the beginning that this country is oozing racism and white supremacy out of its sewers. Because what you're beginning to find out now, what you're beginning to see now is that white supremacy, see, this is why when you hear someone say white supremacy is a social construct, that's what racism is, that is, it is built and baked into everything in America. You are sending your black children to play for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. By the way, go look up why they call themselves the Tar Heels. Hello? I'm going to let you do a little homework on that. But some of y'all this weekend was cheering for North Carolina. Whoa, go Tar Heels, go Tar Heels. And that same school gave a white supremacist group known as, let's see, what's the name of this group? We want to call them out. The Sons of the Confederate Veterans. I don't give a damn about the Sons of Confederate Veterans. As I said, they are the most despicable people that this country has ever seen. But the University of North Carolina gave them $2.5 million. Have they ever given the NAACP that kind of money? What about the Urban League? But they sure make a lot of money off of black basketball players and black football players. Don't they? See, until we become conscious of who we are, we will continue to support this system, which is white supremacy. We will continue. And some of you all support it happily. More on white supremacy. You think I'm kidding? So we live right here in Arkansas, right? You know, last week there was a debate whether or not the Voting Rights Act would be passed, re-ratified again. You understand that, right? We all know that the Republican Party has ran a campaign of voter disenfranchisement and voter obstruction. We know that. So they weren't too thrilled when the Voting Rights Act came up for ratification again. Now check this out. Here in Arkansas, some of the same people that you black folks support, did you know that they voted against the Voting Rights Act? All 4 members from Arkansas voted against the Voter Rights Act. See, here's the problem. The reason Republicans don't want you to vote is because they have nothing for you to vote for. So they understand that if I can keep as many people away from the polls as I can, then that's going to ensure that we get reelected. So let me just give you the names of these people. French Hill, Rick Crawford, Steve Womack, and Bruce Westerman. All 4 white males who simply don't want black people to vote. And they voted against the Voting Rights Act. Hello? Now, it was passed, but it didn't have any Arkansas congressmen's names on it. That should be disturbing to everybody in Arkansas who has any sense of moral justice, whether you white, black, or polka dot. That we had 4, we didn't have 1, we had 4 United States representatives. Let me call their names again. And you know what you ought to do? You know what all of you all that ought to do that are listening to the show today? You need to pick up the phone and call French Hill's office. You need to pick up the phone and call Rick Crawford's office. You need to pick up the phone and call Steve Womack's office. You need to pick up the phone and call Bruce Westerman's office and ask the simple question: why did you vote against the Voting Rights Act? And then when you go to the polls the next time around, you need to let them know by voting against them. This is white supremacy, folks. This is fear of the black man. You're quick to say we're all American citizens when it's politically expedient. But when the rubber meets the road, when it comes to issues of supporting black people and black causes, you all do nothing. You lie. You obfuscate. But thank goodness for the internet. If all you're doing on the internet is playing games, you might as well throw your phone away. If all you're doing on the internet is responding to posts about Real Housewives of Atlanta and Empire and Power, you might as well throw your phone away. By the way, Harriet Tubman, the movie that many of you black people boycotted, has reached a milestone. $40 million earned. I didn't boycott it because it's about us. Y'all complain, well, we tired of seeing slavery movies, but y'all not tired of seeing drug movies. Y'all not tired of seeing black people being, look, let me tell you something. Ghost on Power is a despicable human being. Yeah, I said it, but y'all love y'all some Ghost, don't you? He's a despicable human being. Not only is he killing black people, but he's selling poison to black people. Just like Freeway Rick Ross did. Freeway Rick Ross was so bold that after he got out of prison, he decided that he was going to go on a speaking tour to the black community and say, oh, this is what I did, but y'all pay me some money so that I can make a sucker out of you again. You know, I wrote Rick Ross a long letter and I said, brother, before I support you, here's what you got to do. Every cent that you earn on your speaking tour, you ought to be turning it over to black mothers. You ought to be turning it over to black fathers. You ought to be turning it over to black children, because it was you, Rick Ross, at the behest of the CIA, who set up the network that flooded our communities with crack cocaine. And I promise you, there is not a black person in America that has not been touched some way or another by crack cocaine. And the person that set up that network was a black man. Woo! It's hot in here today. I hope I'm making all y'all mad, because y'all need to do something. You need to get off your butts and do something. Aren't you tired? I am. And the sad thing about it, it would be different if we didn't have the wherewithal to do something. But you see, we do. We do. We simply don't. That's why I said I'm not carrying no water for Hispanics. I'm not carrying any water for LGBTQ. I'm not carrying no water for Asians. I'm not carrying no water for Puerto Ricans. I'm black. I'm carrying water for black people. Black people are in need across the country, across the world. I love the fact that Ghana is telling black people, hey, come back. We'll make you an honorary Ghanaian. This is what we've got to do. 3/4 of the people of this world are of color. What would happen if we band together? What would happen if we began to work together? What would happen if black people simply started uplifting one another? What would happen if black boys start killing black boys? But you see, the reason it's so easy for you to kill black boys is because you don't like yourself. And you see in that black boy that's staring back at you, your hatred. What sense does it make to try to kill someone over a street that you don't own? What sense does it make to kill someone over a housing development that you don't own? And he looks just like you. (855-525-5555) 5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with me today. Hello. Rockman Carter says one black man can't overtake millions based on dominant gene because population or numbers is a factor. Dr. Welsing doesn't include in her findings. That's why birth control is used against us. I'm not sure I understand your point, Rockman. Check your TV and there are scientists as well. So why then would they promote their annihilation? Our numbers in America don't give us the upper hand in gene warfare. This is not about gene warfare, Rockman. This is simply about simple genetics. This is simply about the dominant gene over the recessive gene. Go back and do some research on your science, my brother. If I take a can of white paint and a can of black paint and I mix them together, what will you have? A color. You know, I tell people all the time that black is not a color. Black is the essence of color. Everything came from us. That's why you often hear me say that they are our children. They evolved from us. What you don't understand is that being white is actually a recessive trait. That's science. That's not me. And by the way, Dr. Welsing wasn't the only one who makes this point. Rahman. Go read Dr. John Henrik Clark. Go read Dr. Ivan Van Sertima. I gave you all the book list a while back. Do I need to repost the book list? If I have one black man of childbearing age, if he impregnates a white woman, what color will that baby be? Hello? Do you understand why white folks are so upset about abortion? This is why. You see, the founder of abortion actually created abortion to kill black babies. Y'all do know that, right? Don't believe me, go do your research. But they couldn't couch it that way. And what they didn't realize is that white women started getting abortions at higher rates than black women. That wasn't what they hoped. So this fake thing about anti-abortion that we hear about all the time, all it is fake, folks. If they gave a damn about children, wouldn't they feed them? If they gave a damn about children, wouldn't they make sure they had medical care? I was watching a video last week and they were talking to Londoners. And they were asking them, telling them about health care in London as opposed to here. And Londoners, both black and white, were appalled that if you got cancer in America, you ended up going bankrupt and most likely you died. In London, that's not the case. If they cared about black children, wouldn't they educate them? If they really cared about black children, wouldn't they educate them? Instead, what did they do? They created white flight. It is about genetics, my brother. I tell white people who will talk to me and they complain about civil rights, I always bring up this point. 2042 is 22 years away. This is why I tell little, young black sisters, baby, have as many babies as you can because they're going to be black. Now, I would prefer that you had them and you had a man and a father with them, but have as many black babies as you can. Please. If they cared about them, they would feed them. They knew about this back in 1837. You know, I've talked about the cartoon that I post periodically that was published in a paper back in 1837. And it was a white man standing over a black baby with a pistol and a knife. And the black baby was dead, where he had shot and killed a black baby. And what did he say? In the caption it said, "I have to kill you now because you're going to grow up to rule me." They knew that back in 1837 about the dominant and recessive genes. They knew it back then. We just didn't know it because, number one, we weren't educated because they wouldn't allow us to read. This is basic science that affects race. I'm just saying. Yeah, we are sick, boss. We are sick. Eight 525 5683. I got a couple of minutes to go before I get out of here. I just want to make sure I've covered everything today. I came in here with a specific purpose today. And that was to talk about racism in America. Because after what Nikki Haley said, it's pretty clear that the white establishment is still entrenched. One other quick story. Kamala Harris has joined with other Democratic senators to try to get Stephen Miller, the racist, I don't know what they call him, what is racist Trump advisor. So our tax dollars is paying Stephen Miller to be a racist. See, Kamala, had you been doing this type of stuff years ago, you'd probably still be in this race. I get tired of black people jumping in and out of black skin when it's convenient for them. That's part of our problem, is that we're too busy selling each other down the river so that we can get what we need. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. Yeah, that's a Star Trek quote. But when I heard that in Wrath of Khan, that movie came out 25, 30 years ago. That was so profound. Black people have got to understand that the needs of the many, and there are many needs in our community, outweigh the needs of the few. Because what we've basically done is start worshiping the gods of a beaten enemy. And I'm going to wrap up on this. You know, I talk about this all the time. When the children of Israel were liberated by Moses, and Moses went up on the mount, the first thing they did, after all the hell that Pharaoh and the Egyptians had sent them through, the first thing they did was start worshiping the golden calf. And they died because they started worshiping the gods of a beaten enemy. Prior to the 70s, black people educated our own, raised our own, took care of one another. And then all of a sudden, the 70s rolled around and we decided to start worshiping the God of a beaten enemy. You know what the God of a beaten enemy is of white people today? It's money. The Bible tells you that, yeah, the love of money is the root of all evil. But we as black people, as soon as we started worshiping that evil, our communities began to become terrible. It's up to us. If we're going to solve this problem, black people are going to have to solve the problem. Donald Trump is not going to solve the black problem. Asa Hutchinson is not going to solve the black problem. You know why? Because they don't give a damn about the black problem. The only people that ought to be solving the black problem are black leaders, black preachers, black teachers, black regular folks every day, working every day to say, hey, what can I do in my black community to make sure that I uplift it and it becomes the community that it deserves? That's the only way we're going to fix this problem, my brothers and sisters. I have seen the enemy, and it is we. It's time. It's time. What legacy are you leaving for your children? What legacy are you leaving for your race? I've got to go. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's called Black Focus Radio. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, noon to 2 p.m., right here on Joynet Radio. As we say, it's our issues, our solutions, and our voices, and we are unabashedly black. Make no bones about that, my brothers and sisters. Shout out to the new Miss Universe, a black sister with her gorgeous black self, with her natural hair, not processed. By the way, did you know that they've traced processing your hair and hair dye to cancer? As I close, here's the great Dr. John Henry Clark. The Europeans not only colonized most of the world, they began to colonize information about the world and its people. In order to do this, they had to forget or pretend to forget all they had previously known about Africans. Y'all have a great day. Woo! That's some fire right there.
With our solutions and our voices. Join us.
Hey, we got to go, folks. Hey, I hope y'all enjoyed the show.